This is the Farmington Feed, bringing you information from the city of Farmington.
Hi, and welcome back to the Farmington Feed. I'm Caryn Hodgnicki, the city's communications specialist, and I'm hungry for another episode of the Feed. It's that time of year for firefighter recruitment, and we're going to talk a little bit about Fire Prevention 101. I have with me here Matt Brown and Heath Walker, our Deputy Fire Chief and our Fire Marshal. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So we're going to focus on firefighter recruitment, but we're also going to talk about fire prevention. So first, Matt, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background as our Deputy Fire Chief?
Oh, boy. I started my fire career in 1996. From there, I went to I got hired full-time in 2000 at a department in southern Minnesota down in Mankato. Oh, boy. And then from 2003 till this year, I was with the St. Paul Fire Department for the past 21 years. And then in May, I was hired as the Fire Marshal here in Farmington. And then in October, I was promoted to Deputy Fire Chief.
Yeah.
So 29 years this year of fire service.
Awesome. So what got you interested in it?
Oh, man. Every firefighter will probably say they either wanted to go to school to be a cop or a firefighter, and it just matters which test you scored higher on. So, I went to school to be a police officer, and then I decided at that point I was going to go back into school for my other love, which was broadcasting.
Oh, okay.
So I worked at a couple radio stations at the time and a couple television stations, and met the fire chief in Egan and kind of set the ball rolling. And against my parents' wishes, me being a firefighter because it's too dangerous, here I am 29 years later, a firefighter.
Oh, for sure.
But
wow.
Yeah. So kind of took different avenues to get to where I'm at today.
All right. So Heath, how about you? This position is new for you, but Farmington Fire is not. So give us a little bit about your background.
Correct. I got hired as a fire marshal in December. Before that, I've been with the Farmington Fire Department for almost 18 years.
Oh, wow. Obviously, you live in Farmington.
I do live in Farmington. I've been in Farmington for a little over 20 years.
And you like serving your community.
I do.
So tell us a little bit about responsibilities. So I need to hear from both of you. So Heath, why don't you go first? What does a fire marshal do?
Fire marshal's responsibilities, it's a long list. I'm only going to hit a few of them.
That's okay.
One of the big things that we do yearly is we do inspections, our code enforcement inspections, and we go into commercial buildings and make sure they're following the written fire code. Mm-hmm. Looking for violations that pose an increased fire risk or puts the safety of the public in harm's way. Big things are extension cords, lack of fire extinguisher maintenance, exit lighting not working, things of that nature. The other thing is, which is going to be big, is fire investigations.
Okay.
So I'll be doing investigations on origin and cause of fires to see if it was accidental, arson, possibly undetermined, depending on the severity of the fires. And the big thing is public education.
Yeah.
Trying to educate the public on fire prevention, do a lot of school functions, talking to the kids, try to get, they are our future. Mm-hmm. So try to get them involved and get them hyped up to become a firefighter.
Yeah.
Best job in the world. We do a lot of stuff with, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, stuff like that. We do Top the Tater Days now.
Yeah, that's the new name, huh?
Yeah, not do days anymore.
Not do days,
No.
Top the Tater Days.
Our open house is a big one.
Oh yeah, that's in September, correct?
September now, yep, that's got moved. So that's a big one. Help with evacuation plans, drills, fire drills, stuff like that. But that list goes on and on.
Oh, for sure. And so can you go over your position responsibilities
Yeah.
as deputy?
As the deputy chief down here in Farmington, my primary responsibilities are training, operations, and personnel. So hiring and coaching firefighters, the day-to-day operations of the fire department, the district chiefs, the captains and the lieutenants, and all the firefighters kind of fall onto me, making sure everyone's training records are up to date. And
that's intense. There's a lot of training.
It's not the old, hey, show up on Mondays for training, a couple times a month. It's labor intensive. It's making sure that we have everybody's got all their required training that they need for the year, then trying to figure out, okay, what are we lacking? Mm-hmm. What do we need more training on? What do we have now in our area that we haven't trained on,
right,
that we should start training on? So it's kind of one of those things where you come in on a Monday morning and you just go, take a deep breath and let's go to work. And then by Friday, you're ready to have the weekend. And even then, when you have the weekend, sometimes it's not a day off or a weekend off.
Right, because that's never stopping, right?
Correct.
So let's talk a little bit about fire prevention 101. Looking at fire calls from last year, we did a nice little totals graphic. What do you think is the biggest area of concern in Farmington and the surrounding communities? Because technically you don't just serve Farmington. It's a little bit outside of Farmington as well.
Correct. We cover the city, the township, or the cities of Empire, Eureka, Castle Rock, and then the city of Farmington proper. I didn't realize how big the area was. Coming from a city of St. Paul where it's 36 square miles of total urban area, we're 80 plus square miles that we cover. And man, I think my furthest response was practically down near to Northfield.
Okay.
I mean, straight down Denmark Avenue, and next thing you know, I'm in 500 feet, I'm in Northfield. So it's a huge area that we cover, and we do it out of 2 stations, and it's kind of impressive, and it was an eye-opener for me. As far as our calls go, fires are on the downward slope of our prevention is showing that it's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Medical is probably just nationwide what 80% of the fire departments go on.
Okay.
Every day is medical in nature.
Yeah.
The other 20% roughly is, and it might even be 70%, but I'll do 70 to 80% is what we do medical in nature. Medicals are number one, probably followed by good intent calls. People call 911 wanting to know, my smoke detector is beeping. What do I do?
Yeah.
So we send somebody out. Usually it's an officer, or Heath will go out and check it out, and we might have to replace a detector, or the homeowner will have to replace a detector.
Try to educate them on their smoke detectors, why it's beeping, what to look for. Try to get them into a rotation where they're changing batteries, like we like to say, when you set the clocks, move forward or fall back.
Yep.
Time to change batteries. Look at the manufacture date on the smoke detectors. They're good for 10 years, and at that point they'll start beeping, and you got to replace them. So try to educate them on that level.
Yeah.
Especially too with detectors, what we're seeing a lot now is some of our homes that were built 15, 20 years ago, the detectors are already turning yellow. The house is brand new. In the scheme of a house, it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
But the detector's it's normal. It's like the colors of our walls here.
Yeah.
It started off as a white whiteboard, and now it's a cream colored. If it starts changing color, it's time to change.
Yeah.
Change out your detectors. In 10 years, though, I mean, we've watched, pulling up the data for everything. In 10 years, the city of Farmington fire calls have almost doubled.
Okay.
In 10 years. And we have pretty much the same staffing as we did 10 years ago. So 2014, we had a total of 630, 620 some calls. Last year, I believe we were almost 1,100.
Yeah.
The year before that, in 2023, we were almost at 1,200. So in 10 years, our call volume has doubled. And that's just Farmington's growing.
Yep. Let's flip over to recruitment.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Right now is the time for recruiting for Farmington. What's the first step that someone's going to take?
So the first step that somebody's going to take when they recruit will be to go to the city's website and go to the job application. You can apply right online. You don't need any experience whatsoever. We put you through the EMT or the EMR training, emergency medical responder. We put you through Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2. Hazmat, hazardous materials, response. We put you through all the training that you need to become a firefighter. Oh. So the first thing you need to do is to just go in and apply. If you're interested, find out what the requirements are. You have to live within 10 minutes of a Farmington fire station. Have a clean background.
We have some informational meetings that we do.
Oh, okay.
And those are really important because we're going to kind of lay out the time commitment involved going to these classes and the schooling.
Yep.
And then the potential impact on your family and your home life. And, to be honest, it's not for everybody.
For sure.
But it's important to know the commitment, but the reward that you get out of it if you do become a firefighter here in Farmington. I mean, it's hard to put into words the reward that you get.
Yeah.
the relationships that you build between the men and women that you work with. You go through a lot as a department with the members that you work with, and there's a bond that forms there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
especially. I mean, man, talking about the bond, I just had dinner with the guys and gals that I went through my recruit academy with 29 years ago in Egan. We met up and had a nice dinner together and reminiscing, and here we are, almost 30 years later, still maintaining our friendships, talking about this person, that person, remember this call, remember that call. And it's just like yesterday I started as a firefighter.
Yeah.
And here I am on the downward spiral of my career, as everyone says in the fire service. But it's fun to watch now that I'm in the spot I'm in, is teaching, because I teach a lot outside of the fire department at a couple tech colleges. It's fun to see that next generation.
Yeah.
And remember what you went through. And we just had a live fire training for one of our recruits that we had to go through, and just to see the look on his face made it worth it.
Yeah.
Just like wow, this is so cool. And here we are going, oh yeah, whatever, it's just a normal fire. But then you go back to when you were in the academy going, this is awesome. This is great. You're on the call that you saw on the news.
Yeah.
So that's what I always would do, is when I was in my career, like talking to my mom or my grandparents about stuff, they're like, oh, you had a fire in Mankato, didn't you? Yeah. How'd you know? Well, it was on the news here. Well, I was on it, what'd they say there? And it's just kind of fun to see some of that stuff. You're on the front edge of history, really. But yeah, so the first step is to
go on the city website.
Apply.
Apply.
And then look for our recruitment open houses, which we have one coming up here in February, and then a few in March, and then the applications close on March 24th.
Okay.
And then once you're done with that, you'll get a letter saying, welcome aboard, you're a candidate. We'll have a couple more informational meetings where you bring your family, your spouse, because it is a huge time commitment. And it's kind of important to have your spouse and your girlfriend or even your parents come in and see, what's it going to take? Are they always going to be home? Are they not going to be home? It's a huge time commitment.
And it's important to have that support behind you, because
Absolutely.
I mean, you're going to be at birthday parties, you're going to be at family functions, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and that pager might go off and you're going.
Yep.
So it's important to have your family, your friends to support you on that.
Yeah.
You can't go about this by yourself.
Right.
You need that support.
Yeah. What does the next few months, year look like for a new candidate?
Oh boy, what the year looks like is we'll start the academy usually in September, and then that'll go all the way through March. So that'll be your medical training, your firefighter 1, your firefighter 2, and your hazmat training. Will go from September till roughly March. Once you're done with the academy, then we have another probably 4 months, roughly, of kind of on-the-job training. You'll get a pager at that point. You'll get cleared to go on all the calls. You get to ride the truck. And then after about 4 months, so in July, you'll actually graduate with your badge. You get pinned in front of everybody, your family members.
There's a nice little ceremony.
Yeah, a
at
nice
the
little
fire
ceremony
station.
that the whole department shows up for. So if you don't like standing in front of a group of people, tough. It's a kind of a big deal to be in the fire service to get pinned. And you'll get your badge, and then you're a member.
Yeah.
You're a full-fledged firefighter. You're going on the calls. You're riding the trucks. You're a firefighter. So,
and the training doesn't end there.
Right. I mean, you guys are continuously training.
Yeah, we train, once a week. You select a crew that you want to be on Monday through Wednesday right now. Run 6 shifts, and then you're on a training crew, and you're going to train with those same men and women every week. And then on top of that, once you get cleared, there's weekend duty crews to sign up for, state schools that you can always go to expand your knowledge, which is highly recommended. That enables you to move up that chain. You start out as a fire or cadet, become a firefighter, then you can move into a crew leader. That's certain requirements to move into that position. Then from there, you can go into lieutenant and on up. But that comes with certain requirements in state schools that you have to go to and then pass, and so qualifies you for that next step up that ladder.
So what would you say to someone right now if they were asking you about becoming a firefighter?
Oh man, if you're asking me, I say do it. This has been the coolest ride, the coolest career. I started out as a volunteer, paid on call, like I said, in Egan, and I realized that I loved being a firefighter way more than I wanted to be a cop. Nothing against my friends in blue, love them to death, but I realized that this is something that I wanted to do for a career, and I started taking tests everywhere. Started seeing, like Heath was saying, there's certain requirements to move up the chain.
Yeah.
I noticed that I wanted to do more than just be a firefighter my whole career.
Yeah.
And so I started taking classes and classes and classes, and it got me to where I'm at today.
Yeah.
And I would tell you, whether you're just on the paid on call side, or if you decide you start out on a paid on call and then move your way into a career field in this, do it. It's awesome. It's probably the best career I've ever had in my I've done a lot of jobs in my life, but as far as careers go, no 2 days are the same. Boy, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just amazing. It's never the same day. I know you hear that a lot. People say that they want to help their neighbors, and it's true. I mean, we like helping people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's amazing. It's a fun career. You get to do stuff that you've only seen on TV for the most part.
Right.
And then you go home and you're just like, let me tell you about what I did today.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's where that's fun to, my kids have grown up around it their whole life. So they're like, whatever, Dad, you're on TV again. Whoop-de-doo. Oh, Dad, you're doing a podcast. Whoop-de-doo. But at the same time, you also see when they come in, they're like, Dad, that was really cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's a great deal. When in doubt, check it out.
It's a great time right now because the fire service is evolving. When I got on and when Deputy Chief was on, I mean, we were 95% of all fire departments were either volunteer or paid on call.
Yeah.
We're making that switch now where because of the NFPA standards today and what they outline, the majority of the fire stations they're going full time now.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about getting up and with this profession, you don't go to work. Like I don't get up in the morning and be like, oh, I have to go to work today. I mean, I work at a fire department. I mean, I don't go to work.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. If you want to become a firefighter, yeah, it's the best job you'll ever have.
Now, you said that they're transitioning, so a lot have been volunteer and paid on call, that kind of thing. And you said the NFPA kind of is putting that forth. What's the NFPA and why is this important?
Oh, sorry. NFPA is the National Fire Protection Agency. So they kind of help develop their standards that have to be met. And so most of the departments around the country adopt NFPA standards. Kind of an unwritten law. I mean, It's not a law, but it's their standards, so every department should follow NFPA. A lot of departments are doing it because, one, they're just so busy.
Yeah.
I know our friends to the west, Lakeville, are transitioning from an all part-time paid-on-call department to now a combination department with full-time staffing and volunteers or paid-on-call. And someday we might be getting there. Our call volume is starting to increase. We might get to that point where we're going to bring on some full-time staff, but that's a little further down the road, I think. But you're starting to see that transition more. Yeah. There's more things that the fire service is doing more than back in the old days where people were like, well, we don't want to pay you to sleep. Well, there's not a whole lot of sleep going on.
Right.
It's not like the movies where you just see us sitting around playing cards all day.
Oh, like Tacoma FD?
Kind of like Tacoma, exactly.
The show?
Kind of like Tacoma FD where they're just sitting around. I can tell you my worst day in the fire service was 30 runs in 24 hours.
Wow.
Heath and I were just talking last week. He asked, how many fires did we have in St. Paul? I think it was last year.
Yeah.
We had 157, I think it was, fires in one year, house fires. And he was just like, whoa, but that's the big city.
Yeah.
We've had 47, I believe, last year. No, we had 26 last year. 23, we had 47.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot and I know since I've been here as the fire marshal, I've investigated at least probably 6 house fires.
Yeah.
So it's
more than you think.
It is
right?
definitely more than you
Because
think.
you hear about some, but those are only the big ones, right? Like you don't hear about all of them.
Correct. And anytime there's a fire, it has to be investigated.
Right.
So it could be a simple trash can fire, but I or Heath have to go out and we have to investigate it.
Yep. Why did it happen?
Why did it happen? We scour for ring cameras. Is there something that was caught on a ring camera? Was there?
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of in the fire marshal's role, I thought it was kind of fun because you're kind of like a cop.
Because you're investigating stuff,
you're
right?
investigating stuff. So, my kids would always say, Dad, you're a fire cop. You're investigating fires. And I'm like, I never thought of it that way. But it is true because you are kind of playing Perry Mason in a way. And for those young people that don't know who
I
Perry
was going to
Mason
say,
is,
I'm not sure everybody might know who that is.
that's an old TV show, but for an old fart like me. But you kind of got to put two and two together.
Yeah.
Trying to find the cause of a fire is investigating it. And you kind of play detective. And it's kind of fun when you think you know what happened and then all of a sudden you find a ring camera and you're going, holy cow, what I thought happened actually happened. Or, boy, was I way wrong.
Yeah.
So that's the fun part about it.
Well, and I imagine, how obviously you're trained for it, but just how hard that is to figure something out after something's been burned, right? Like,
Well, even being
there's-
trained, there's times where you might have an idea, but you can't. It's not. You have to have the proof.
yeah,
And if you can't come up with the proof, you can't really label it something.
right.
Those times it might become it's undetermined.
Yep.
There's a lot of science there. There's
Yep, a lot of science. Yeah, a lot of ruling things out. And if you don't, like Heath was saying, if you can't put your finger on it, even though you know that it's this or you think it's this, but you can't prove it, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. But that's where they've got other people that can come in and we can call for assistance if we need it. We've got the state fire marshal's office. We've got the ATF that we can call in. And they're ready to help us out at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
Give us an hour, we'll be there.
Yeah.
So we're pretty lucky down here, or in the state of Minnesota, we have such a huge list of people we can call to assist us if we need to. If something seems a little bit out of place, I have no problem picking up the phone if I had to.
Yep.
And people come running.
Yeah.
So
Anything else you guys want to talk about regarding recruitment or fire prevention?
Well, for recruitment, if you're interested, give me a shout at the City of Farmington, mbrown@farmingtonmn.gov. I'll answer any questions you might have. Come see us at any one of our recruitment open houses, see what it's like, try on some of the gear, talk to some firefighters. We'll have the trucks where everyone can sit in it, try on the gear, see what it's like, and ask questions. That's the big important thing. We'll ask questions because we'll answer open and honestly and truthfully, and want to see more and more people come out.
Well, before I wrap up today's episode, I do want to thank you guys for coming on, and I'll be happy to have you on again if you want to talk some more.
Oh, man.
But I do want to remind all our listeners the recruitment informational meetings are being held in February and March. I think the first one's the 17th of February, if
That
I'm
is
not
correct.
Okay, at 7 p.m. at Fire Station 1. But you can check out all the dates, times, and locations at farmingtonmn.gov/become a firefighter. Well, that concludes this month's episode of the Farmington Feed. Thank you for listening. We look forward to connecting with residents with this podcast. If you have any feedback, guest requests, or ideas, email me at communications@farmingtonmn.gov.